All right. Good evening, everyone here in the audience and everybody that's watching us on whatever media device that you are. And welcome to the Planning Commission of the City of Moreno Valley. I now call this meeting to order on December 8th, 2022 at 6:01 p.m. May we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Ray Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Omar Kobian,
Here.
Commissioner Joanne Steffen,
Present.
Commissioner Jeff Sims,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Matthew Chen,
Here.
Chairperson Alvin Dijonay.
Here. Commissioner Chen will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Face the flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We're now going to move on to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
That's moved by Commissioner Baker and a second by Commissioner Chen. Do we have a vote? And okay, the motion carries. What happened? We're gonna do it again?
I'm sorry, I stopped it too early. Baker didn't get his vote in. I apologize.
All right.
Okay, something's going on. Yeah, I see seconds up here for everyone. There we go.
Oh.
Commissioner Sims, can you vote again, please? I'm sorry.
There we go, and the motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the public comments procedure. Before we hear public comments this evening, I ask and encourage everyone participating to keep their comments respectful toward others, especially towards individuals speaking. Of course, I embrace and support the First Amendment right to free speech, including everyone's right to speak at this meeting and share his or her views about issues concerning our city. But we can accomplish this more as a city and as private citizens by being civil and respectful toward one another in this meeting. During the public comment period for each item, as well as during the public comment period for items not on the agenda, each member of the public who has signed up to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. Any person wishing to address the commission on any matter, either under the public comment section of the agenda or scheduled item or public hearing items, must fill out a request to speak from form that is available at the door. The completed form must be submitted to the secretary prior to the agenda item being called by the chairperson. In speaking to the commission, members of the public may be limited to 3 minutes per person, except for the applicant for entitlements. The commission may establish an overall time limit for comments on any particular agenda item. Members of the public must direct their questions toward the chairperson of the commission and not to other members of the commission, the applicant, the staff, or the audience. Let's see, do we have any public comments?
No, Chair, we do not.
The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. At this time, we have no items, so therefore, the next item on the agenda is non-public hearing items. This time, we have no items. The next item on the agenda is public hearing items. Item number 1, the applicant is requesting approval for a plot plan for a 192-unit apartment complex with a recreation center building, pool, and community dog park on approximately 8-acre site. Do we have a staff report?
Thank you, Chair DeJournette. The presentation this evening will be made by Associate Planner Claudia Manrique.
Evening, Planning Commissioners. The item before you tonight is the Crystal Cove Apartment Project. Proposed project includes 192 units. It's a multifamily apartment development on 8 acres located at the southwest corner of Alessandro Boulevard and LaSalle Street. The proposed project is within the corridor mixed-use commune district. The proposed project is designed and conditioned to be consistent to the goals, policies, and objective of the general plan, as well as the requirements of the commune district and the city's municipal code. The proposed project's main entrance would be from Alessandro Boulevard, which is on the northern perimeter of the project, and it has right-in and right-out access. Secondary access is proposed to be off Copper Cove Lane, which is at the south perimeter of the project site. Parking for the proposed project is based on the municipal code requirements and would be 342 spaces. The project is providing 359 parking spaces, which 208 are covered and 151 are uncovered. The proposed 192-unit complex has 8 separate buildings, which are a mix of 2-story and 3-story buildings, which include 84 one-bedroom and 108 two-bedroom apartments, which range in size from 195 square feet to 1,050 square feet. The proposed elevations have a Spanish architectural style with stucco exteriors with features around the windows and patio and balcony areas of the buildings, which help break up massing and add focal points to the buildings. On-site amenities for the future residents include a community clubhouse, which has a fitness room, leasing office, mail room, library, and restrooms. There's also a pool, spa, cabanas, a dog wash station, a covered grill area, and a tot lot, which is all located in the center of the project. To the southwest corner of the project, along Copper Cove Lane, there's a 14,000 square foot community dog park. Here we have a color rendering to show the details and variations of the project. The project will be conditioned to meet the city landscaping requirements. The slide shows the proposed dog park in relations to the other amenities on site. And the dog park will be open for public use. An initial study was prepared by Rincon Environmental in compliance of California Environment and Quality Act, CEQA. The proposed project will not have any significant impact on the environment. That staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolutions 2022-54 and 55 approving the project. Staff's available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions for staff?
I have a couple questions, Chair. Thank you. Just to confirm, you said the dog park will be open to the public.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. We have an email here saying that a dog park would be nice instead. So I just wanted to give that out there. That is going to be there. Now we have comments about people wanting a park instead. How much does it cost for a park to be built here in the city? Like, like if the city were to take that on?
That,
Yes.
I wouldn't have that information available to me of what an 8-acre park would cost the city. But ultimately, this property is held by a private landowner.
Okay.
And ultimately, as a, city staff, did, reach out to the applicant, did ask them if they would be able to, provide an amenity such as this. And that is something that the applicant did provide as part of this proposal.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I had a quick question. Last week, or last meeting, we talked about apartment complexes having to, or not being, I can't remember the exact wording, have to have enough adequate parking and not rent out additional spaces. Would this apartment complex fall under that?
So this apartment complex, given that it is being approved prior to the adoption of that ordinance, would not be subject to those rules and regulations because they are not in place at this time.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. Okay. What is on the zoning or the project recently came to Planning Commission? I don't know if it got approved at council, or maybe it didn't need to get approved by council, but at the northeast corner, the DR Horton, what's the zoning on that? Or what's the density that project will have in the downtown center?
So that project is within the downtown center. The approximate density of that site was about 10 units to the acre.
Okay. And then I seem to, maybe Ray may remember, but I seem to recall a few moons ago that directly across from this proposed apartment complex, that an apartment complex was approved at the southeast corner. The grading was done, but maybe he ran out of money when he was grading the rocks right there. Whatever came of that?
On the hard corner itself?
On the corner of LaSalle and Alessandro, it'd be the southeast corner of that intersection. There was an apartment complex approved, and the guy graded. I thought there was some kind of he was getting some kind of a low income, or there was a housing assistance funding, whatever came of that.
It was a approved senior affordable housing for the corner, and unfortunately, the entitlement has expired.
Okay, so it's back to whatever. Okay. Is building 4 on the site plan that's proposed? How many stories is that building? Apartment 4 would be at the corner there of whatever the little street is, Copper Cove and LaSalle.
Most likely it would be the 3-story.
Can you confirm that one way or
Yes,
the
we'll
other?
have that when the applicant come up, he can confirm building 4.
The building 4 is a 3-story building.
Building 4 is 3.
Yes.
Yes. Huh? Is that a 5?
The building at
Building
the
5,
building,
excuse
the
me,
building,
my eyes, even with my glasses, I can't read.
the building at the southeast corner of the site is 3 stories.
Okay. All right. And then what is the perimeter fencing along the Copper Cove? What's the proposed there?
It's a mix between solid 6-foot fencing, a decorative block wall, in combination with wrought iron and then pilasters that would match the decorative block.
Are they going to be, is the the solid portion where the parking is?
Double check with the applicant on the exact location.
Because it would seem like you would have car glare, headlights coming in, pulling in and out of the parking lot into their parking spaces, going right into the houses across the street.
There is also, but one thing I would note though, Commissioner Sims, is that ultimately whenever a parking lot is adjacent to public right of way, we do require either a 3-foot screen wall or 3 feet of landscaping in which to screen the headlights,
Okay.
which would be required of this project anyway. Block wall or not, there will be screening of headlights consistent with our standards.
Okay, and then is this a gated community where in and out is allowed only by the occupants?
Yes, that is correct. It will be gated.
And then can staff explain does this project help meeting our regional housing needs assessment could you elaborate a little bit about that?
Yes, this project does help us meet our regional housing needs allocation. Ultimately, we will get credit for 192 units. Once this project is built, that the specific range in which we will get credit for will ultimately depend on the final leasing rate at which these apartments are leased at. That is yet to be determined. But yes, we will get credit towards our RENA for this site.
Just if engineering could possibly or traffic kind of run through what the kind of just flyby 5,000 foot level, what the level of street improvements will be in the 2B situation.
Wayson Public Works. They're going to provide a 200 feet storage length for westbound left turn on Alexandra and the 260 feet storage for the northbound on LaSalle. That's the improvement they commit.
So but there'll be a hard median, or is
Hard
it gonna
medium
be
on Alexandra.
on Alessandra? Yeah, but I don't know if that's. And it's what painted stripes on LaSalle.
Yes.
What about, is it going to be a signalized intersection at Copper Cove?
No, traffic signal is not warranted in year 2024, 2025.
Thank you.
Are there any other commissioner questions for staff? If there aren't any other commissioner questions, would the applicant like to speak? Is the applicant? Yes, come on up.
Good evening, Planning Commission, staff. My name is James Walters. I'm with Fairbrook Communities, also with Empire CM. We're the applicant and owner of the property. We accept all the terms and conditions here that are stated in our conditions of approval. And we are looking forward to building this project and providing great housing for the city of Moreno Valley. The design was inspired Santa Barbara Spanish themed project. Should be very nice, very clean. These are all market rate apartments, and we're looking forward to providing a dog park for the city and for everyone's use, and making this a nice piece in that hard corner, entering into the new downtown city center. Thank you.
Hang on just one second. I was wondering if there's any commissioner questions of the applicant.
On building 5 on the corner there, it just, I'm assuming that the actual grade level between the finished floor, the bottom, and the approximate finished floor across the street at the houses is approximately equal.
Approximately, yes.
So I have a bit of concern about having a 3-story building right next to houses where people can walk out and look out and see what's going on in right next door. I mean, 2-story is everybody has a chance to look at each other. So I would, if there's any flexibility on building 5 being a 2-story, that would be nice. I would think it would be more compatible with the existing residents, so people aren't looking down into that. And then the other part is to have solid on the carports or solid on the parking spaces along the Copper Cove, so that it is a hard, no glare coming in from headlights going into the properties. Anyhow, that's my two. I don't know how that's specifically designed, or if that's I am sure a 3 to 2 story, reduces however many boxes is in the second one of those floors, but I think that would be it seems like something to be more considerate to the existing neighborhood.
One thing to note about the existing homes there across on Copper Cove is that all of those homes are situated so that the front yards are not facing neither of the backyards. It would just be the side yards that are facing. And then, we're about 120 or so feet away from them. So the angle really wouldn't actually see into anyone's yards or anything over the fences that are existing there.
I would dare say the sight line from the stoop of the front door. I don't know how these are configured, but if you're walking the front of the face of the building 5 on the 3rd floor, you could definitely be standing there hanging out, looking out what's going on in the people's backyard across the street, even though you're on a side yard. Anyhow, that's my.
Are there any other questions?
I was just wondering, are they going to be income sensitive at all, or are they all just going to be
These are 100% market rate.
market rate?
Yes.
Okay.
My question was, did I understood that this was a gated,
Yes, it is.
with it being gated, would that mean that only the residents would have the access in and out of the?
Yes, well, residents and guests. There'll be a turnout lane for guests where they can use the call box, which operates through cell phones. So basically, they just call in, goes to your cell phone, and allows people in. But yes, for the most part, it's residents and guests.
In looking at the plans, it looks like the southwest corner, is that where the dog park is?
That's correct.
Is that within the gate or outside of the?
It is gated, but it is not, it is for the community and it's not locked. So that is meant for the city of Moreno Valley, not just the apartment community.
Okay, so then.
So that will
that's-
have access that will go into it's basically double gated so that you walk in and then you can go to a large dog park or the small dog park. And that's designated by below 24 pounds or above 24 pounds.
So that's where the public would have access.
Yes.
But they wouldn't have general access into the community.
No, they would not.
Okay, that was the question I had there. Any other questions, commissioner questions of the applicant?
Staff would like to make one point of clarification. The density as proposed is actually below the maximum that the applicant would be allowed to go. At the 192, they're actually below their maximum density. It is by 1 dwelling unit per acre, but they actually could have gone a little bit higher than they did.
Thank you. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank
Sure
you.
that some other questions may arise, but thank you for
Okay.
your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, at this time, I'd like to open up the public testimony. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on the agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
No, Chair.
No public comments. Then I suppose the applicant. Okay, so there are people raising their hands, but did they fill out the request to speak form?
I have requests to speak for item number 3. If
Oh.
there's another, I can go get a card for them.
Okay, but no request to speak for item number 1.
Not that I've received.
Chair, it is at your discretion this evening if you would like to accept comments at this point, given that the requests to speak were not submitted prior to the item being called.
Yeah, I don't want to silence any voices that would want to speak. If they could fill out a form and bring it up really quick, we would be happy to hear your comments. There are no forms? The forms are gone? Yeah.
Chair, if you'd like to call for a temporary recess, we could do so while the individuals are completing the speaker slips.
Do, are, I don't have a problem with that. Do we have anybody, are they wishing to speak for item number 1? Okay, if you hang on just one moment, the clerk will call your name by reading your form. Okay. Looks like we got that squared away there. Okay, so then I take it that we have some public comments then. All right.
I'm just going to go ahead and add them in, and then I will call them in one
Thank you.
moment.
Chair, while we're waiting, do you want to make an announcement related to the other items and submitting speaker slips potentially?
I was going, yeah, I thought about that. Just a reminder to the public that if you do wish to speak on any one of the agenda items, please fill out a speaker form located at the door and just walk it up to the clerk here so that she can add you to our agenda, and she'll be able to call your name when that agenda item comes up in our agenda, and we'll be happy to hear your comments.
Thank you, Chair. We have 2 speakers for item number 1. We have Angelica Graciano and Jasenia Contreras. Angelica is first. Oh, I apologize. Yesenia, you are first.
Hello, council and fellow members of Moreno Valley. I'm here. I am part of the neighborhood across the street from item number 1. I am not against what you're doing. I love what you're doing. I'm a mother of 5 myself and a foster mom. So my job is usually to get 17 and 18-year-olds prepared for the adult world and into their apartment that the government provides for them. So I love what you're doing. I'm not against it. My only concern is, unfortunately, because of the tilling of the land, the rodents have come into the neighborhood, destroying the backyards. My neighbor is very upset. Her daughter's backyard dollhouse has been destroyed by rats. I've never had a problem until just recently. I opened my shed and just destroyed, just completely ruined, and everything they leave was terrible. And this is obviously very expensive. Everything has gone up in price. As I said, I'm a mother of 5, foster mom of 2. I don't have the means. I'm so stretched thin. I can't even go to the store for poison or traps. I'm just hoping that someone here can do something about this, fumigate anything, because it is because of this project that rodents have come into the neighborhood. So that is my main concern. That is all that I have to say. I appreciate you guys for your time.
Hey, guys. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Do we have any other speakers?
Yes, we have Angelica Graciano.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Angelica Graciano. I live right across the street from the neighborhood for the proposed plan. I live at 14132 Montego Bay Drive, right on the corner. And the quality of my life will be significantly impacted by this development. I ask that you please consider I'm opposing this plan, and I ask that you please reject moving forward with this plan. Just off on my way home, counting the number of apartments in 1.8 miles or less, there were at least 17, and I stopped counting at 17. We are overly saturated with apartments near and around our street. That is a huge concern. We've also had issues with rodents, like Yesenia mentioned earlier, that we never had before. That's just some of the problems. The congestion, the noise pollution, and the 3-story building. And I can tell you from my front door, if they build, you will be able to see to my front door and in my backyard, as some of the yards are in a slope. So if you have multi-level apartments, our privacy will be compromised greatly. Also, along with the added traffic, that is a huge concern. Not long ago, a couple months ago, we had a fatal on Copper Cove and LaSalle. So adding more congestion, more cars, more people without traffic lights or anything else is just going to add more danger to the existing community that have been taxpayers and living happily there for years. I ask that you please reject this plan from going forward. As a homeowner, as a taxpayer, as a member of our community, it will greatly impact us. And that's all. Thank you for taking the time to hear us out.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
No, Chair.
Okay. At this time, would the applicant like to provide any additional information?
Thank you for your comments. I've been writing them down and would like to just address some of them. The tilling of the land, I don't doubt that that's caused a lot of rodents. That's not from our project. There's been no work commenced on site at all. So it may be some weed abatement from some of the nearby sites, but that's it wouldn't be from this project. The next thing that I would mention is that with these apartments in these proposed apartments in this area, I think that they're filling a much needed void of housing. I think that there's not enough. It's a growing place. There's incredible rent growth in the area because of a lack of housing. There's hardly any supply, and it's frankly too difficult for people to find places to live. So I think it is a huge help to the community. I think it helps with even the state of California just bringing in new housing. Next, with the privacy, we would be more than happy to plant tall trees, cypress trees, whatever would be recommended. We could work with planning on that. We would just ask that that would be conditioned as of condition of occupancy. I think the traffic, just lastly, the traffic, additional traffic that we're going to be improving Alessandro, adding lanes to that to accommodate the additional cars. And the traffic plan and striping plan has been well thought out to mitigate any additional cars and congestion. Thank you.
Thank you. at this time, if there's no one, more public speakers at this time, would like to close a public testimony and move into deliberations. I'll go first. I concur, with our residential housing allocation and putting in affordable housing. A lot of times in looking at a project like this, we look to see if it's compatible with the general plan, if it's consistent. It doesn't look like there's any zone changes. There's nothing going on to make. I do hear what you're saying about the privacy, but the applicant is willing to make some concessions there and try to do something to accommodate the privacy. I also look at a lot that size. We're looking at 192 units. A lot that size could probably fit about 72 houses, and which would also bring cars and people and stuff like that. I've always said this, and I understand, when folks move in, it's serene, it's quiet, there's nothing there. But if it's an empty lot, something's going there. That's just the bottom line. That lot is not going to stay empty. Not going to be a field forever. Whether or not it's another 72 or 80 houses or an apartment complex, something's going there. Once a private seller, it's the same way that if I were to buy a home, then I can do something with my land. Somebody buys the land, as long as they're consistent and they follow the law, they can do something with that land. And for me, I couldn't say I can do what I want to do with my land and say to somebody else they can't do what they want to do with their land. So, as far as I can see, it's a great project, and I, for one, plan on voting for the project.
Okay, I'll go next. I really feel for the lady that talked about all the rodents, but when there are empty fields, I live in an area that has been built up for 30 some years, and we have a gully behind our track, and my house sits on half acre, and we do have rodents just because there's a rodent problem. And we've had to deal with it, and I've had to deal with it for 39 years. I always attribute it to some of my neighbors, but I'm sure it's coming from that gully. And I know it's very difficult, but this is lower than it could have been. And they are doing the dog park, which I'm sure some of the other residents in the area can take advantage of that. We've approved projects with a lot more density to them. So I think this is a really nice project. I'm there's no zone change, like they said. They're doing what they can, and it looks really a beautiful, beautiful plan. It's not by any means looking tacky, or it's really a pretty unit. So I'm leaning toward voting for it.
I'll go if that's okay. I think it's a good project. I always look at projects from the outside on the border, looking on the border first, just to see on the interface. Absent any specific conditions, I do have concerns about the 3-story house or 3-story apartment. I don't know if there's a way to condition it to put with some teeth that there will be appropriate screening trees of mature size at the start, rather than 10-gallon trees that'll take 20 years to grow. So I think that would be an appropriate, if we could have somehow get a commitment for that. And the only other concern that I would have is the mixed fencing along Copper Cove, or whatever street it's called, would be solid block where the parking is, where people come in and out. So that just stops any kind of headlights going into people's property. Besides that, I did dig into the traffic study to kind of look at it. And I was looking on page 18 and page 14, and it compares pre and post traffic analysis and intersection analysis. And there's the level of service. And that's a whole other thing, because in some traffic studies, they use vehicle counts, and then others, they do this level of service. I like the level of service because it's more of a qualitative, but all of the intersections after the improvements were made are consistent with what the existing conditions are at every one of the intersections. So if I'm understanding what I'm reading, except for Alessandro at Chevrolet, there's a slight degradation on AMP. So anyhow, I think the project is good. I think we have the downtown center that's going to be going. It needs high density. It needs density. It needs people to go down, shop, eat, live, play, bring tax money to the area. So yeah, I plan to support the project.
I think I agree with some of my colleagues here. Like Mr. Sims just mentioned, if you ever go to Victoria Gardens, right across Victoria Gardens, what do you see? You see 3-story apartments. And nobody says they're tacky or they're bringing crime to the area. Those are good-looking apartments. And I agree, that area's been needing some improvements for a long, long time. That corner, it's an open lot. It needs to get filled. As far as the rat issue, yeah, this project has not been approved. That's not from the builders. That is from the owner tilling and taking care of the weeds. What I will tell you, if when this project is complete, the rats won't be coming out of that lot anymore. That'll be from your neighbors probably, but if that's the case. I've dealt with rats too. I have a half acre too. I know it's a constant battle. I've been pretty successful lately, but we'll see. What can I say? I think it's well needed. I like the improvements. I do like the fact that there's only one building on that corner, as opposed to a line of buildings facing that. The entrance and the exit do line up with the existing street right there. So as long as there is some light coverage for glare, I think it's a good looking project. And I agree, if we can get that commitment from the developer to make sure that there's some type of screenage for that one building in particular, I don't think there's an issue for the rest of the buildings. At least I don't see it from a view. Other than that, I plan on supporting the project.
I like the project. The one thing I really like is that dog park that they committed to, where you're a dog owner, and there's not enough of those around. So, and then the other thing I like, there's adequate parking there, additional parking in this complex, which is really good. And I think it's a good project. I'm going to vote for it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so a couple meetings ago, we voted no on an issue because they were going to be using privately owned roadway. And so that's something that we kind of stand for. As far as being able to do what you want with your land, I wish I could afford to buy up all this land and build parks myself for all the youth that we have. Because anyone who knows me knows I coach youth sports, and I love our youth and our future. And my wife, she works with, the foster care kids and for the county of Riverside. And, I would love to do all that, but we can't. And the owner of this land has developed something that will provide adequate housing, market rate housing. They're going to add to the quality of life in the area. I understand all the issues with it being an apartment complex in single family home neighborhoods. But looking at, the aerial view of a map, there's just a lot of empty land out there, and something has to go there. And if it fits, my saying is, it's a square block going in a square pay or square hole, right? So it fits it. And we can't tell an applicant no when, they're willing to provide our community with something that's going to bring in tax dollars bring in affordable housing and housing that's going to assist those coming into our community and wanting to move from LA and San Gabriel Valley into a more affordable community. So I hear everything, and I know it's not the answer some people want, but it's going to be the answer a lot of families need for housing.
Chair Dejanay, can staff just step in real quick? Commissioner Sims had asked about whether or not there was an opportunity for a condition of approval. I don't know if that's something that's still desirous of the commission. If so, staff would be able to provide some language if that's what's desired.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that something that we can add in the
So
the
what's
adoption of the
so what
resolution?
so what staff would recommend is to amend condition number 20 to add a subsection. What is it?
H.
Subsection H. And in subsection H, what we would identify is that on-site landscaping adjacent to building number 5 along the southern property line and the eastern property line where it's contiguous to that building, that the minimum tree size be a 36-inch box. That's consistent with the city's street tree requirement and is a full box size larger than our traditional city standard of 24-inch box. So that we have already asked the applicant that, and they are amenable to that additional condition in order to provide additional early screening early on within the project to provide those initial mature trees within that area.
Okay. So I take it that for commissioners, with the adoption of the resolution, if that's going to happen, then you'd have to add the additional amendment to condition 20.
Yes, sir.
Well, with that said, do we have?
I do have one thing. I do want to mention that the city, that this specific project is asking for no general plan amendment. It's not asking for a change of zone. The project is consistent with the underlying existing zoning, and it's consistent with the goals of the general plan to support the downtown center. The city has absolutely every right to reject projects not consistent with this general plan, not consistent with the zoning, and not compatible with neighborhoods to ensure all the goals of the general plan are met. So anyhow, I just this is one of those rare. This is a project that is a square peg fitting into a square hole.
That sounds like what I said. All right. Do we have a motion and a second? Let me give this a shot then. Okay. I would have a motion for the Planning Commission to adopt resolution 2022-54 and 2022-55 with the amendment to a condition number 20. And I hope that suffices. All right.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, the motion carries. Do we have a staff wrap-up?
The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If an appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director stating the specific reasons for the appeal, along with the appeal filing fee. If any appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item, number 2 on the agenda, is the applicant is requesting approval for a tentative tract map to subdivide 1.7 acres into 8 single-family lots. Do we have a staff report?
Thank you, Chair. The item will be presented this evening by contract planner Nader Khalil.
Good evening, Commission. project before you tonight is a tentative track map for a vacant, on a vacant lot.
Media, can you advance the slide, please?
Speaking to the location, thank you. Speaking to the location of the project, the proposed project is located on the northeast corner of Indian Street and Angela Way on a vacant lot. Slide, please. The proposed project is within the residential 5 district and is surrounded by residential zoning to the north, south, and east. Industrial zoning is located across Indian Street to the west. Next slide, please. The applicant is proposing to subdivide 1.79 acres of vacant unimproved land into 8 single-family residential lots. Lot sizes range from approximately 7,300 square feet to 7,900 square feet. Access to the project is proposed from Angela Way through an extension of Libra Lane. Perimeter landscaping will be required per the municipal code requirements. The design of the proposed project is consistent with the goals and objectives of the city's general plan and the provisions of the municipal code. Next slide, please. Staff recommends the Planning Commission take the following action to approve resolution number 2022-53. Available for questions, and the applicant is present this evening.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions for staff? No? No commissioner questions? Okay. At this time, would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Jeff Solok. I'm applicant on the project in being civil engineer and land surveyor on the project. We addressed all city's concern during preliminary review, and plans are consistent with zoning of the property.
Well, thank you, sir. Are there any commissioner questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Well, there's no commissioner questions of the applicant or staff. So at this time, we'd like to open public testimony. Excuse me. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on this agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
No, Chair, we don't.
Wow. Let's see. No commissioner questions of staff, the applicant, and no. All right. Well, I would take it that the applicant doesn't want to provide any additional information and then anything came out there. So I'd like to close the public testimony at this time and move into deliberations. Yes, it's I will go first. I mean, we're just subdividing land into what is that, 8 portions on the 1.7? Yeah, I don't see any problem with that. That seems like that would be consistent in that area there. So I can't see anything going on there. It's consistent. I mean, this is fantastic. Consistent with zoning, consistent with the general plan. That's a strike.
My only comment, this is the perfect test pilot for the opposite of compatibility, where you're building new residential right next to existing industrial use. So it's perfect.
I'm good. Looks great.
I'll make a motion if we're ready to make motions.
Happy to accept a motion there.
Maybe I better get the right piece of paper. I would make a recommendation that the planning commission adopt resolution number 2022-53.
I'll second.
Okay, that is a motion by Commissioner Sims and a second by Commissioner Stefan. Do we have a vote? It's up. Look at that. And the motion carries. At this, do we have a staff wrap-up?
The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If an appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director, stating the specific reasons for the appeal, along with the appeal filing fee. If any appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item number 3. The applicant is requesting approval of a tentative tract map for consolidation on 7 parcels into 5 parcels and a plot plan for a 426 unit apartment complex on approximately 18.05 acre site. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Chair. The presentation this evening will be made by contract planner Kurt Corey.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening, Chairman, members of the commission. The applicant is requesting approval of a 426-unit multifamily residential development on 18.05 acres of land within the R30 zoning residential district. The project also includes construction and dedication of a 1.845 acres of open space recreation area and an 8,000 square foot 2-story clubhouse and leasing office building. The proposed project as designed and conditioned is consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the general plan, as well as the zoning requirements of the municipal code. The project is located at the northeast corner of Iris Avenue and Emma Lane. Properties to the north and south include some residential development as well as vacant land. As you can see, property to the east includes a commercial shopping center, and to the north of that is vacant land. And property to the west includes the March Middle and Rainbow Ridge Elementary Schools. As noted, the tentative tract map proposes to consolidate 7 parcels into 5 parcels, and a plot plan for a 426-unit, 22-building apartment complex is proposed. Access to the site will be on the west side of the project, towards the central portion of the west, off of Emma Lane, and on the north side, off of Santiago Drive. Those are the 2 main access points to the project. The project is proposed as a gated community. These perimeter streets that were noted, Iris Avenue, Emma Lane, and Santiago Drive, will all remain as public streets. The project requires and provides a total of 828 parking spaces, and the development will provide several designated guest parking areas generally dispersed throughout the project site. All of the internal drive aisles, parking, and that have been met to meet the minimum requirements and will be maintained by the homeowners association. The design of the buildings reflects a modern Spanish architectural style with multiple earth tone colors. Exterior enhancements to the buildings include a variation of wall projections, colors, window treatment, tile accents, over-covered entry areas, and metal accents and balconies for private space areas. Each of the units will meet the requirement for private open space area. The project will also provide over 150,000 square feet of common open space area that will be dedicated community open space, including but not limited to some of the amenities that will be featured in there will be including but not limited to small and large dog parks, and connected with a dog bath area, pool, shade cover, and restroom and turf areas. Landscaping is provided along the proposed project frontage throughout the development. Proposed fencing includes a masonry wall along the eastern boundary adjacent to the existing commercial shopping center, and then wrought iron is proposed around the remainder of the perimeter, as well as, go back 2 slides, as well as the landscaping proposed. The project, the initial study was prepared according to the California Environmental Quality Act and guidelines. The initial study examined the potential impacts for the proposed project on the environment, and with implementation of the proposed mitigation measures, the project will not have a significant effect on the environment. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the project subject to the resolutions of approval. Staff is available for questions. The applicant is in the audience this evening as well and is able to answer questions for the commission. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Are there any commissioner questions for staff?
I have some, if be indulged. I was looking through the traffic study on page 48 of the traffic study. But maybe if you could just kind of walk us through at the flyby level of the street improvements and specifically, Emma, what that's good, Emma Lane's going to look like, that intersection, I assume and what happens at Santiago.
We'll direct that question to our Public Works Department.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Planning Commissioners. This is Clement Jimenez with the Land Development Division. In terms of Emma Lane, both sides of the street will be improved with pavement, curb, gutter, sidewalk. As far as Santiago Drive, the same thing, curb, gutter, sidewalk, pavement, to a width of half street plus the traveling on the other side of the street, on the north side of the street. As far as Iris, they will complete any missing improvements along the project frontage, consisting of pavement-based curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
I'm not a traffic engineer, so I was picking around through the traffic study, so I don't know probably if I'm for sure interpreting things, but you have an opening year without project level of service analysis. There's an opening year with project level of service. So on the analysis where it says opening year, is that full build out, or is that like cutting the tail of the dog off an inch at a time? You're only building part of it, then it's going to take more years, or which analysis shows level of service with all the apartment or with the whole project built out?
That is opening year.
So that is opening year. That's full build out. Okay.
That's correct.
Is there any conditions in the 2B condition with the project built out and all the road improvements that the level of service will degrade for any of the intersections?
The level of service will remain the same because we're going to require them to build a raised median at Emma Lane. So the level of service remain the same.
So
on Irish.
Say that one more time.
Okay, the raised median will be built along Irish at the intersection at Emma Lane and the Irish.
So does the project traffic, will it be able to pull out onto Iris and go east?
That's correct.
It will be able to make a left turn out of Emma?
No left
onto
turn.
Iris, or there's
only right in, right out.
Right in, right out. Okay. So obviously then there's no traffic signal proposed for Emma.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So just to be clear, there will be a raised median along Iris going, so traffic coming south on Emma out of the project if they go that way to get to Iris, could do only right turn only.
Yes, right in, right out.
Okay, and, okay, thank you.
Are there any other commissioner questions for staff?
I do have one other question. As far as, going to meeting the regional housing needs assessment for the city, is this project market or market price, or is it incentivized with some kind of they get reduced parking for the whatever's and all that stuff? I always forget what those are.
If it was incentivized, we would have identified it in the staff report. It is not. This is a market rate project. And again, this project will go towards meeting our 13,000 units of RENA that we ultimately need to accomplish within the next 7 years,
So,
as imposed by the state of California.
so that this project will be required to pay full diff fees for parks, storm drain, streets, traffic,
500 of them tonight.
Yes.
and all that. So there's no, they're not going to get any kind of incentive with not having to pay. Like I recall we had one project, they got increased parking and less park, and they had to pay their park fees or something like that. But that's not the case on this.
So that what you're referencing there is Quimby. That's assigned to subdivisions only. And that's it's a different fee. It's a different requirement. It's a completely different state law standard. That's not even applied to apartment developments.
Okay, but at the end of the day, there will be development impact fees paid.
Yes.
The parks, schools.
Tom,
Okay.
diff,
All right.
all of
Thank
it. SKR, yeah.
I was wondering if you can give me just a little teeny tiny bit of the 13,000 that we need for the regional housing allocation for the next 7 years. Just a small information about that. Or what does that mean?
So the state of California, as part of our, the state of California, through working with the Southern California Association of Governments, assigned us a regional housing needs assessment number. That number is over 13,000 units that the city of Moreno Valley is responsible for providing over the plan period, which was 2021 to 2029. The total number of units during that period, so we are now 1 year into that. We have built housing. However, we are still well within the 13,000 units that we need to accomplish over the following 7 years that we still have left. And ultimately, that is a requirement of the state. Our housing element is linked to funding that the city is able to receive associated with grants and those types of things. This project, based off of its design, will help us to either meet our low, medium, or potentially even medium-high income housing needs, depending on the final rates by which final rental rates by which these units are leased at.
So it's not a condition of Moreno Valley as a city. It's a condition of the state that says we have to meet this 13,000 units.
That's correct.
Right. Okay. So the city is not driving. We're going to put in a bunch of apartments and houses.
The state is mandating us. The state mandated us as part of our housing element, which was certified back in October of this year. The state mandated that we provide opportunities to build the 13,500 or so units. I don't have the exact number right off the top of my head. By 2029. This site, being designated R30, does help us get to that number. I would note for the commission's, as the commission is aware, this site was designated residential 30 with a maximum density of 30 units per acre as part of our previous general plan as well. There is a range in which they can have a maximum number of units, density per units. There's a minimum and a maximum within our 30. The maximum being 30, and I'm going to actually ask Julia, can you confirm the minimum is 20? 26. Yeah, the minimum is 26 units per acre. So we actually have a minimum and a maximum, and the applicant here is actually moving is closer to the minimum that they can have than the maximum in terms of their overall proposal. They're right at about 26, 27 units to the acre. So they actually, again, just like project number 1 this evening, they could have gone for a greater density, but in order to do that, there would have been other things with the site that they would have had to implemented, such as taller buildings and other types of parking facilities, which ultimately the applicant felt that this was the more feasible design.
Thank you.
I do have 2 more questions. Where are the 3-story buildings at on this project?
I'll refer that to you, sir.
Yeah, by Santiago.
Near Santiago.
Okay. And these ones that are down by Iris, are these, they look like some of these have like little garages, or did I
Correct.
read that right?
Yes.
Where are those at?
I would have to defer to the applicant. I think those are towards the center of the site, if I'm reading it correctly, and my eyes aren't as good as they used to be.
Okay, and then just for, if you could humor me, just to give me the 1-minute explanation. How did R30 designation get on this part? It's underlying existing R30. How did that come about?
So I would ultimately have to go back to originally to the 2006 general plan to find out the exact purpose behind why this property was designated R30 at that time. Ultimately, due to, again, to arena allocations as well as other requirements. Ultimately, the city looked at our general plan. We looked primarily at corridors for improvement as part of our most recent general plan update, and areas where we saw that there was generally growth occurring, and that the plans and policies that were in place were leading to growth. We really didn't go out and just throw everything out and start over. This was a property where we've seen development, and we retained it at its current zoning designation. I would note that actually this project was submitted actually prior to our 2040 adoption as well. This project's actually been with the city for about 2 years. We've been working with the applicant diligently on the design, as well as ensuring that the environmental for the project did meet the mandates of CEQA. Also, I would like to correct myself. It's a minimum of 24 units per acre, not 26. And again, they are still on the lower end of that 24 to 30 range with their proposal.
So the zoning, so the general plan, some older general plan designated that as a plan, but what was the actual mechanism? Was there a specific plan, or did the city adopt a land use map that went through public hearing process and whatnot to achieve the zone?
So at the time that this property was designated, the property would have been required to go through a zone change and a general plan amendment or update. I did not, I don't have the specific research. I was not here in 2006. I haven't been here for that long. But ultimately, that would have gone through a public hearing procedure at that time for it to be adopted the way it is. And ultimately, that action would have been taken by the city council. The city council and this commission in 2021 reaffirmed ultimately the entire zoning map for the entire city of Moreno Valley, as well as, or I should say, reaffirmed the zoning for this specific reaffirmed this for this property, as well as the general plan land use designation was reaffirmed as a recommendation by this commission, and ultimately the adoption by the council in June of 2021.
Thank you for that. So it just suffice to say, for a long time, this has been R30. It's gone through a notice procedure. So it's however long it's been like that, it's finally somebody's come and doing something with it.
Correct.
Okay. And the general, that the general plan that was the 2040 general plan approved in 2021 has retained what was approved back in the general plans so that there is consistency here.
Correct. The zoning and general plan land use designations were retained moving from 2006 to 24, from the 2006 to the 2040 general plans for this property.
Thank you.
Are there any other commissioner questions of staff? Would the applicant like to speak at this time?
Good evening. My name is David Patton. I'd like to thank all of the staff here, especially Kurt, as well as Mr. Kelleher. We've worked actually for about 3.5 years on this project. And what you see before you has been a collaboration, and we've tried to take into account all of the comments from each and every department. And we think that we've created a site plan that's going to really benefit this part of the community. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I do. I,
Okay.
in your outreach, through this 3.5 year process, did you have any notice or have any community outreach?
What we had was the site plan submitted in a pre-application. As Mr. Kelleher suggested, this is the first and only time in my career that I've asked for lesser density. And as such, we have tried to abide by all the zoning laws. There were no neighbors when we first started this. There was the elementary school, the middle school, Meritage hadn't built theirs, and Walmart still had their piece. We developed the Home Depot back in 2002. So in terms of immediate neighbors, there just were none.
Okay. Are there any other commissioner questions of the applicant? Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to open the public testimony. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on this agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, Chair. We have 10 speakers. Robert Calvary.
Hello, Commission and council members. I'm going to stick to what I'm reading. Otherwise, I might go over my 3 minutes. But I'm here concerning about this project plan of 426 units. That's 22 buildings and the apartments on the corner of Iris and Emma Lane, which I'm on Emma Lane. I just moved here a year ago from the city of South Central Los Angeles, and I was an active member of the Florence and Firestone community. I was born and raised in South Central and trying to live and trying to make a better living out there in a congested area, in a community congested with gangs infested area, dealing with all types of finding parking and just trying to find parking at a park, even in my front house is a nightmare. This is my first time standing here in the council chamber of Moreno Valley, and it probably won't be my last. I'm here as a new owner. I own a home here near this project being planned out, and living here and not having to deal with all these issues, parking, getting robbed, getting jumped, getting stabbed. My family can have a little time of breathing, have a time of fresh air in this community, in this new city of Moreno Valley. And I just hope that you would see that this plan would be a better place than just building 426 units. And I saw 3 stories, which my windows are really big. You can see right through those windows. It's a peaceful place nearby the Park of Santiago in the community. When I moved here, I saw on the construction areas being built and some where it says prayer changes things. And I believe in prayer. And I pray that may the Lord just give you who are building this plan, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and for this decision of this project to be made somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Luis Martinez followed by Isaiah Anderson, followed by Robin Moriarty.
Good evening and thank you. I'm gonna have to be reading to everything I wrote right here. My name is Luis Fitz, and I am a resident of Moreno Valley. I moved here recently, about a year ago. I chose this community right next to the Santiago Park, just like the other person said. I guess it felt calm, nicely, a good safe area to raise my 4 daughters. I come from an area really crowded too, bad parking areas, crime activity really high. I believe this tranquility and safety I feel with my family will be taken away with this project being built near our community. Traffic, I was hearing somebody saying about no traffic light, and I don't remember the street. I was planning on looking at it here, but I don't see it. It was just gonna be right in, right out. It sounds like it's gonna be cause a lot of problems right there. No other, I mean, the other worst thing is this project is proposed right next to our school, Rainbow Ridge, with a 3-story building looking right to our children. I believe their privacy will be exposed and they will be, I hope not, but they will be in danger. I hope not, because I'm hoping you guys do not let this pass. Don't let it be built right there. I drive by this little area almost every day, and I see it's so small. And I'm thinking, how I understand you guys have a minimum and a maximum, but 426 units in this little tiny area where we probably need more shopping centers for our kids, for our community. We have to drive away for anything we want almost. All I want is to know how is this going to help our community, which I don't see how it's going to help us at all. Tiny small lot for 426 units right next to our school, children. The park, I heard the park, this is going to be a private area. We have one park for our community. Now and I'm not saying we would like to, but they will be able to access our parks, or our only park. We won't be able to access theirs. Most likely they will be accessing our parking spaces, which there's not a lot already. So that's going to be a chaos right there. All I want to say is I please ask you to oppose this project and deny it. I'm not saying that this is not needed, but maybe it could fit somewhere else. Maybe we could use some other things that will benefit the community already, like shopping centers and recreation areas, probably. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Isaiah Anderson, followed by Robin Moriarty, followed by Christian Moore.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Isaiah Anderson. I'm a homeowner at the new Meritage Homes build. It's across the street from the proposed area. Yeah, so I just have a couple concerns. I'm not necessarily against the build here, but I do have some concerns, like my neighbor, about the parking areas. It just seems like there's not going to be enough parking spots in this build. With like the proposed 426 units, it's like 2 or 3 cars per unit. 3 times 426, that's like what, like a freaking 1,200, 1,400 parking spots. I mean, we already have a limited parking area in my neighborhood, so it just seems like if we're realistic about the amount of people that are going to be living here, where are these people going to park? There's not enough parking in this plan. Another one of my concerns is that the target demographic for this apartment complex, they kind of aren't really specific about the demographic of people that are going to be living there, and not don't want to sound like I have anything against anybody in particular, but I have a concern about crime. I have a family. I have a 3-year-old son. He's going to be growing up in that neighborhood and going to school in that neighborhood. And I would just like the peace of mind of knowing that these apartments aren't going to be like a Section 8 apartment, or like apartments where there's going to be a lot of drug dealing, crime, you name it. I when I purchased this home, it was there wasn't a giant apartment complex next to it. So, I spent a lot of money on my home. I invested a lot of my home in my neighborhood. I'd like to know that this apartment complex is going to add value to our community and my neighborhood, not just be a way for a development company to make more money. So, let's see. Yeah, so I'm not necessarily against this, but I just want to make sure it's going to add value to my community and not be a detriment to it. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we have Robin Moriarty, followed by Christian Moore, followed by Kelsey Moore.
Thank you for listening to me, the council members and staff, everything. I have concerns mainly about traffic and traffic safety in this area, because we've already had a few wrecks right out in front of our house. We live directly a kitty corner from this project on Iris and Emma. I've already heard we're only going to be able to make right turns out of there coming off of Emma either way. Is that correct? I don't know. Okay, apparently nobody has. The traffic in here is already heavy during heavy traffic periods. And with the schools there in the morning and the afternoon, the traffic's especially heavy during pickup and drop-off periods for the school. There's cars parked on both sides of the streets all the way around the school. So that creates safety problems when cars are traveling through there, and sometimes they're traveling at very high speeds. Also, I know there's already over 100 houses built on the other side of the schools. I think 426 units being concentrated in that one area is going to create massive traffic problems all the way around that area. And if we can't exit Emma on a left turn, we all got to find our ways all the way around the neighborhoods behind us to get it to Emma Street or to Iris Street, which is the way I go to work every day. And having lived in apartments myself several times, there's never enough parking in those areas for the tenants, let alone visitors and whatever else goes on. If there was going to be something built here, I would rather it be houses or businesses that aren't going to create massive problems like this, and not apartment buildings. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have next Kristen Moore, Kelsey Moore, followed by Rhonda Allen.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Moore, and thank you for this opportunity to speak today. I'd just like to reiterate what some of my neighbors said. I'm new to the area. I just moved here a year ago from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a worship pastor at the Grove Community Church in Orange Crest, full-time student at Cal Baptist University. I provide fully for my family in this new Meritage Home community. I'm a beneficiary of new housing in the Moreno Valley area, and so I'm grateful for those housing. But I'd also like to add that when we were promised this housing community, there was nothing mentioned about apartments being built in this lot or this land. The community has benefited very much so with housing. Excuse me, my son, sorry about that. We've benefited a great deal with the new park, and we've benefited a great deal with our house. When I see the picture of the apartments, if I can be honest, it really just looks very chaotic. And one thing that I've learned is that even if it's organized chaos, it's still chaos. And so I'd like you to really take just a really big thought about what this is going to do to young families as myself. And there are a lot of other young families that are in this new area. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Next, we have Kelsey Moore, followed by Rhonda Allen, followed by Charlene Gutierrez.
Good evening. Thank you guys for the opportunity to allow for our neighborhood to speak out about this. As you can tell, most of us are opposed to it. We're not opposed to the housing, and we understand that you guys have to meet a quota, and we get that square pins fit in square holes, but those square holes that you guys are speaking about are our neighborhoods. My husband, he just spoke, when we purchased our home, we invested in this community not knowing that there was going to be an apartment complex, let alone 426 units built behind a brand spanking new neighborhood. We haven't even been in our home for a year yet. And now that hope and that joy and that feeling of us enjoying our first Christmas in our home has been slapped in the face with the blue notice in the mail that, hey, the city's thinking about building 426 units directly behind your home. When the picture comes up of the housing along Santiago Avenue, and you see that there's 3-story units, that looks directly into the backyard of one of my, now I say we call it a neighborhood family. We have neighborhood gatherings. We do Christmas parties. We do Halloween parties. We've done a block party with our neighborhood. We have everyone in, like, literally in that general area are new families, and they have small children. They go to that school. If you think about it, when you have kids and you think your kids are going to be passing a 426 unit apartment complex to get to school, and then you think that the only way out driving the street, there's only one right turn in, one right turn out. Like my husband said, organized chaos is still chaos. When I think about the safety of my son, I think about the tenants that are going to be coming and going in this apartment complex. There's no guarantee that these people are going to be leasing long term. I think about who my son is going to be growing up around, who my neighbor's kids are going to be growing up around. We invested, and we're still investing into the property. Cement costs a bunch. I know you guys understand. The things that you do to a new home and a new construct, you're planning on adding value to your home. And when we think of a 426 unit apartment, that immediately slaps all of the investors that invested, the taxpayers of this community, in the face. It feels as if we were sold broken promises of there being more shopping centers, more banks, a closer police office, closer police station in the neighborhood. Like, I see that there are new homes being built directly behind KFC. Why not have single family homes built directly behind us as well to create that curb appeal? Curb appeal is not associated with apartments. I'm sorry, especially not in a brand spanking new neighborhood. So I'm really praying that you guys really think about those who have invested when there was nothing there. Like you said, they had these plans when there was nothing there. Well, now there's something there to consider. Families, taxpayers, and just our futures in general. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rhonda Allen, followed by Charlene Gutierrez, followed by Marcella.
I'm the OG of the hood. Okay. I live on Emma and Iris, one house down. And like I said, I've been there 35 years, and I've seen a lot of development. I mean, there was a chicken farm where they live right now back in the day. My concern is, like everybody else here, I just think 426 units is disgusting. It's too much. I don't know how the schools are going to take the influx of the children. I don't know what the rents or leases are going to be. Are they going to be low income? Are they going to be, 2,500 for a one bedroom? People say we need more housing, but people can't afford the housing. I mean, it's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think you should consider rent control. So all these landlords aren't gouging all these people, 3-bedroom house for $4,000 a month. It's crazy. But anyway, I just want, is there going to be a street light? The traffic is crazy. Coming over here, I counted 13 semis on Heacock, along with the other work traffic coming home. And then on Cactus, there was 7 semis, and the traffic was backed up from Heacock to Altura, Graham, I guess that is. Where's everybody going to go? How are you going to move around in this town? This is crazy. Can we not have any vacant land? Do you need to develop it all? Do we need to be like Orange County, LA? I don't think so. And 3 stories? Come on. I want to be able to see the mountains. That's all I have to say. It's like, please reconsider. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to at least take a 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
5.
Let's go 10 minutes restroom break and then reconvene after 10 minutes. That would be kind of helpful. You guys ready? We ready? All right, it looks like everybody has returned, and I'd like to reconvene this planning commission meeting here. So I think we're still in our public testimony portion of our agenda. And do we have any more speakers?
Yes, I would like to call up Charlene Gutierrez, followed by Marcelia, and followed by Julie Moriarty.
Hi, I'm Charlene Gutierrez. I live on Emma Lane, just about 3 or 4 houses down from the intersection. I have more questions than I do comments. So do you just want my questions and hopefully they'll be addressed at some point? Or do you want to answer my questions? How do you want to do it?
Yeah, you have 3 minutes to speak, ma'am.
What's that?
You have 3 minutes to speak.
Fine. Okay. I can't believe you're considering this project without a traffic light. Come sit at that intersection any morning, any afternoon, and you tell me you don't need a traffic light if you're going to add about 500 or 600 cars to this area. And if you're going to make them all turn right, where do you think they're going? They're going to Indian or they're going to Heacock, which are busy enough as it is. I can't believe you don't send it back to traffic for a more thorough study. That's my request. Also, the wrought iron fence, you're going to put a block wall between the Home Depot, which is a business, I understand, but the rest of it's going to be a wrought iron fence. Kids walking to school, Santiago, Emma, Iris, whatever, a wrought iron fence. That's not very secure to my way of thinking for kids. The 3 stories is a concern. The density is a concern. The parking spaces is a concern. And I realize at this point, we're probably not going to nix this project, but I would like you to consider a little more carefully the issues I've mentioned, the traffic, the congestion around the school, the safety around the school, and the parking. There is no parking on Iris. So I don't know where they're going to park if there's not sufficient parking within the complex. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Marcelia, followed by Julie Moriarty.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marcella Rossi. So I am here to obviously vote against this proposal. I feel like there's a lot of factors not being considered here. Like many of my neighbors, they are starting families. There's a big concern with the kids, specifically the school that is in there. We're talking about 426 units. That's insane. Like, look, I completely understand the housing situation, but we have a brand new community. You guys can just build houses there instead of apartments. Like, I also feel blindsided that I received a public hearing announcement notice in 2 weeks. This has been in the work for 3 years. Like they said, there was nothing there, but there's something out there. And it's just absolutely insane. I moved from LA to try to find a home where I'm not near apartments. And now I get hit with this. My house is actually on the back of Santiago. I'm the one who gets affected by this. My privacy gets violated now. I'm already having an issue with the HOA within my community because there's a walkway area that's public for the city. I don't know what's the purpose of that. And this is just a safety concern overall. This is a big issue. And I understand, once again, like the housing situation, but this is something that needs to be looked at. We need to consider the amount of families that live in this community, the amount of kids that live in this community, the parking situation. It's already a problem in my community. There's already people parking there that don't even live in that community. So what are we really going to do about it? Like, I really don't understand. Like, I get it, this is a money situation, and at the end of the day, the developer is the one who wins, not us. So I really want you guys to consider this and really look at this proposal. Like, once again, I understand the need for housing, but we can build more houses there. We don't have the need to build apartments. We actually, in fact, we need a police department in there. The closest police department is so far away. Why can't we think about that? So that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Julie Moriarty.
Everyone, my name's Julie Moriarty. I live on the corner of Emma and Iris. Cars go by 100 miles an hour, and I'm not making that up. I've told the police officers before, they don't have time to sit out on my corner. I've been out to 2 car accidents. Do you know what that's like, to run from your house till you get there praying to God nobody was hurt? Badly. Fortunately, they weren't. One man, I don't know. They couldn't get him out of his truck yet. I agree with you on the headlights because that's my kitchen, my dining room, into my living room. When we heard this was happening, we didn't want apartments. We hoped there'd be a signal put in, and we hoped they'd be homes. We can all live with homes. I feel sorry for all these young people that came up that bought these new houses because they worked really hard to come to Moreno Valley, a good community to raise their families, because they came out of LA and all those other places we all know are harder to raise children in. And now they got an apartment complex coming in. You know, it's like to sit in an apartment and listen to that wrought iron gate slam over and over because people are going in and out all night long. They don't care. They're just going out that gate that slams because that's their only way out. We didn't even plan for the freeway traffic because we're known as the warehouse hub, are we not, in Moreno Valley? And now we're scrambling to fix the traffic on the freeway. And now you want to bring in this big apartment complex and you want to put a median in the middle of the street so that everybody that comes out of our neighborhood has to be inconvenienced all of a sudden because we don't have enough houses. We don't have enough housing in the city of Moreno Valley. I'm sorry, I'm enraged. I'm just, like the one lady said, you're going to nix this anyhow. You're going to do what you want to do. That irritates me. It irritates everybody in this room that came up here to speak because we didn't have no notice. You weren't there when they had to tear the house out that became known as the ranch. And it was so bad that there was a brand new BMW sitting in that yard with all the windows knocked out because it was crazy there. Then we had the greenhouse. That mysteriously burned down. I don't know. Did you guys do that so you could build the property sooner? We thought there was a Walmart coming in. We were happy with that. We thought housings. We were happy with that. And the last thing I want to say, and I don't mean this rudely, but there is a rodent problem when you disturb virgin land. They come up out of the land, and there's studies, and there's lots of research on that. So I felt really bad because that lady had a point, and you guys all just disagreed. Anyhow, that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time, and I would rather if you built houses, please.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
No, Chair. That was last speaker.
At this time, would the applicant like to provide any additional information?
I appreciate all these comments that these neighbors have provided. I genuinely do. 216 out of the 426 units will essentially be row townhomes that will live and look like condos. They won't be these mass clusters. We intentionally designed this in a bifurcated manner so that we did not have one huge, awful looking community. We took great thought in terms of getting multiple floor plans, multiple site plans, multiple areas of amenities for this. It will be gated. We will have a security plan. It is in our best interest to maintain this community to the highest level, to keep the gangs out, to keep the drugs out. That's how we make our money, by being able to provide shelter that people actually want to live in. And so we've designed these with that in mind. That being said, we've taken into account all of our different consultants' recommendations. We've provided them to the city, and we've done whatever the city has asked us to do. So what you see before you has been 3.5 years of a culmination of a collaborative effort on everybody.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
At this time, if there's no more speakers, then I'd like to close the public testimony portion of our agenda and move into deliberations. I've been pretty brave, so I'll go first. Gosh, I did this since what, late 2017, 2018. I've learned a lot, and I'm not. I've learned a lot, and and purchasing homes and land allocations and zoning and densities and that sort of thing. And again, I do go back to my comment about empty lots and things are going to go there. One thing that I have learned for sure, if I'm going to buy a home and there's big empty lots there, I definitely want to know what that area is set up for. If I'm buying a home and there's an empty lot there and is zoned for commercial property, then I know businesses are going to go there. If I buy a home and this thing has been zoned R30 for 17 years. For 17 years, this has been zoned for the density rating of R30. That means moving in, I know that density rating is really high, which tells me probably apartment buildings are going to go there, and it's a pretty high density rating. So I want to know. I definitely want to know, and that's what I've learned from here. I definitely want to know what's going to go into that empty lot that's going to be next to me. One thing I definitely understand is that the city doesn't go out and build apartment buildings. Those lots are empty. There are signs that are out there that says, "Come buy this land," and anybody can go out and buy that land. And so a developer comes out and they look for what they want to do and they look at the density rating and they say, well, the city says right here in this zone, I can put apartments there because it's zoned for that. That's what it's there for. And it's been sitting there for nearly 20 years. And it's come before the commission before. And so they dot all their I's, they cross all their T's, they follow the law, they follow what they're going to say. And it says, yes, I want to put some property there. I've learned that it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. Believe it or not, me sitting here with my my beautiful youthfulness, I've actually lived in this city for 53 years. Watched this city go from orange groves to one high school, 2 middle schools to what it is today. And I've watched that change happen. Change is hard. Change is difficult. And I'll say this. I don't purchase the land. The city doesn't purchase the land. The lands are out there. There's a lot of empty land in Moreno Valley, and people have the right to come and purchase land and follow the laws and be able to put what is law and set to go there. If I walk in and I see an empty lot and I see that it's zoned for that, I want to know. I'm spending now $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 on a home. I definitely want to know what's going to go in that empty lot. I want to know what that's zoned for. So again, I've learned that sitting here. And so again, we deliberate on it. We try to see if it's consistent with our general plan. Is it consistent with zoning? Is it consistent with the laws and the laws and the conditions of the city? And we do place conditions on developers to meet safety and that sort of thing. So this is a tough one. And so hopefully we can have some good deliberations here and hear what other commissioners have to say about that. But I do like to just reiterate that there's land out there. And if land is developed to put in a house and somebody comes in to put in a house and somebody doesn't like, well, they've dotted all their I's and crossed their T's. There's lands out there that's developed for businesses, and businesses can come and buy that land and put a business. There are lands that are out there that are developed specifically to put in apartment buildings, and developers can come in there and put an apartment building in that land. And then again, there are lands out there that are developed. We have maps that are out there that tells any person that if they want to look at what the city map looks like in our zoning map that are out there, it's public knowledge. All you have to do is pick it up and take a look at it and know what is designated to be. So we have to think about the public. We do think about the public. We definitely hear your concerns, and we have to weigh that against what we think is consistent and safety and that sort of thing. So your voices are definitely heard. We don't ignore your voices. So I'd like to thank everyone that came out and comes out tonight, that sees us on social media or whatever media devices that are out there, and they're involved in their city, and come out and voice their opinion and definitely voice their concerns. And so absolutely just thank you very, very much for your comments, your concerns, and your thoughts. I really appreciate it.
I actually had, so are we past asking staff any questions?
I'd have to read.
Well,
Right now, we're-
okay, well, give me a minute there. They give me a bit. I want to see if I can understand this map.
Anybody else want?
So, okay, so I'll go.
Go ahead.
I'll go. So the one concern I have is indeed the parking. We're at 1.9 parking spots per unit. We have, we're looking at two-car family for every apartment. We don't have enough. So I think that is a major concern. But I can't, the thing is, I heard we're going to do what we want. The thing is, we're not doing what we want. We're bound by law. We're bound by the things that are in place already, in regards to the general plan and zoning and all of these things. When I say square peg fits the square hole, it's not, that means it hits the check marks and it's legal. They've gone through back and forth for 3.5 years to figure out how to make everything fit. And that's where ma'am,
wasting everybody's time that's sitting here. It's
okay,
obvious.
so that's where we're bound to uphold these they're not laws, but the regulations, and this is where we're bound. So we're not doing what we want to do. We're up here to follow the rules. Does it fit? And it fits. I understand people want single family homes, and people are looking at the city staff and telling them to build single family homes, but the city doesn't buy the land. City staff doesn't build. They don't bring these up here. It's the developer who buys the land, and they say what they want to build. And if it fits, they work back and forth, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of money to figure it out. If there were people who wanted to band together, pull their money together, buy land, and never build anything on it, they can do that. If people wanted to buy this land and build houses, they could do that. But the thing is, no one stepped up to build houses. Someone bought it and decided what they wanted to do with their own land. And we can't stand in their way if it fits what the zoning requirements say. And, for me, I personally, just no matter what it is that I feel, what I feel is wrong is that I understand the reputation apartments have as far as bringing in crime and people who are lower than you because they live in an apartment and not a house. And that hurts me because we've heard tonight we've heard several families who have moved here into our city, as I have, and no one rejected those families from coming in. And I feel that these are market value homes. They're not Section 8. They're not low income. They're going to be maintained security. They're going to be maintained at the highest level. And that's where it is. I understand we want shopping centers. We want all these things. We're going to have the new downtown built. Our city manager is doing an awesome job bringing in all these businesses. But at the end of the day, it's the business who has to have a desire to come into our city. It's not as simple as saying, Target, you're going to come into our city, or Walmart, you're going to come. These businesses have to want to come in here. And if the income isn't at the level, they're not going to come in here. So it's a little give and take. And I understand the NIMBY, no one's ever going to show up for something that's in their, in a different neighborhood, but it's a tough thing. It checks all the boxes, and we're tied. It's not that we're doing what we want to do. It follows everything it needs to follow.
Any other deliberations?
I got some comments. I won't reiterate I have as being on a planning commission for nearly 10 years, I really try to take into consideration when the city has a general plan, that's a transparent process. The community is noticed. The community can come in and act on that. And as far as people don't like how votes are, this commission is appointed by the council. If you don't like the commissioners, you have to vote out the council people that are appointing the commissioners. That's just how it goes. We're not elected, we're appointed. So that's democracy at that, if just to make sure everybody understands how that process works. I will say, during the questioning, this land is R30. It's been R30, and it's probably, if this project doesn't get approved, the next R30 project in some other configuration will. As far as the people that just bought into the Meritage, I get it. You went and looked at the sales, you saw the community, you said this is wonderful. I'm sorry if you did not go to the city and look at the zoning maps and see what the potential, or that the sales reps didn't tell you what was going to be there.
Nobody said there was going to be 430 apartments back there. It's too many.
Anyhow, suffice to say, we respectfully listen to you quietly. Please do the same. As far as on the parking, this project is providing nearly two parking spaces per unit, which is more than I've seen in many apartments, and this is not being reduced, if I understand it from any. It's not a incentivized project. As far as I do have concerns about the along Iris. I do believe that should be a solid masonry wall, and I would request that be such so that the lighting that comes off of that, or there is parking drive lanes, it appears, going towards Iris. And I would also, however, is set up along the lighting going towards Santiago. I can't ask the question now without reopening, but I don't know where the 3-story units are. If somebody said it, I didn't.
Our community.
I would ask that the public and commissioners and everyone please be respectful. Everyone have their time to speak. This is an agenda, and it is a very agendized meeting. And you did have your time to speak, and it is our time to deliberate. So please be respectful.
Anyhow, I like the other apartment I do believe that there should be enhanced, if there is any 3-story units along any of the periphery that's adjacent to existing residential, it should have enhanced landscaping such that the 3-story buildings can't have a straight view into the residential. The other, let's see, what else was there? There was questions. The other thing that caught my attention that it's a market driven, so this isn't like a Section 8 type of situation. It appears that this will be a high-end apartment complex if built. So, yeah, that's fine. And it is a gated community.
And it has an HOA, I believe it does. But everybody thinks that we don't hear everybody out there, but the trouble with us is we're an advisory board and we have to go by, if it's zoned a certain way, it's zoned R30. It's been R30 since 2006 and it's still there. I mean, I know nobody wants apartment buildings, but that's what basically can go there and it's zoned for that. You can't, you can't, I have apartments all over where I live. I mean, there's a lot of them and I had no say about it because it was zoned for it. I wasn't even on the commission then. But the thing is that if everything it's in the general plan, this is been in the works for a long time, a couple of years, just because the guy didn't build it the year after and he didn't know what was going to be built around him. There was a lot of things that weren't there. In 2006, nothing was really there. I've been here since 84. There was hardly anything out there. I mean, would anybody be happy if there was a trailer park going in there? I don't think so. Because there's one off of Santiago. I know that for sure because my cousin lived there. But the thing is that, we have to see if it just meets all the requirements. And if the applicant meets all the requirements, our hands are basically tied, really. So basically, he dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. And no matter if anybody isn't really happy with it, it's not something that we can say, no, you can't, because then he has resources that he can take. So I do feel for everybody, but I have a bunch of congestion up there on my end, but we have to deal with it sometimes. It's just, when I moved here, there was less than 30,000 people. I thought I was moving to my patch of paradise. There's over 230,000 residents now. I can't complain because everybody's moving from somewhere else. I did the same thing 39 years ago. I moved away from the inner city to get my little patch of paradise. And did I get it? I don't think so, but I'm dealing with it. And that's, when you have a developer and they got to put in something and you might not like it, that's what it's zoned for. They're not asking for a zone change because then we could do something. He's putting what can go there. And you can't please everybody, and we're not doing this to harm anybody and the residents or anything. Like they said, there was a chicken farm out there. There was another place out there. There was nothing out there when I moved here. There was no Home Depot. There was no shopping centers. We had to go into Riverside to get things. So we're not trying to, we're not the bad guys here.
How come none of you have said anything about the school?
Again, I would like for the audience to please refrain from outbursts. We do give the public opportunity to speak. Each member that wishes to speak has 3 minutes in order to speak and voice their opinions. And at this time, we are in our deliberations and we are trying to deliberate. I would ask that maybe perhaps just to get a little more clarification on how the process works, just briefly. I was wondering if our city attorney could just weigh in just a little bit and kind of give a little bit of information for general knowledge for the public and commissioners to understand exactly kind of how the process works and how this deliberation process works at this point.
Thank you, Chair. This is Colin Kirkpatrick with the City Attorney's Office. There's sort of two questions at hand as I might see it. One being the running of the meeting and the public participation component, as well as the actual the Planning Commission's jurisdiction over the project. Addressing the project in particular, I understand and hear the commissioners are also hearing the public comments respecting zone change and what authority the commission may or may not have. I would like to clarify that the commission is correct. This property is zoned for this use. And so the public understands the way this works is the Planning Commission essentially has a set of rules it has to follow when a project is presented in front of it. For something like this, it has very specific findings it would have to make in order to deny the project. When the project like this meets zoning, it doesn't completely remove the Planning Commission's ability to deny such a project, but it definitely narrowly focuses it into very specific issues. And if the staff and Planning Commission find that it meets those findings, it does not have the authority to look at things like certain things that might be considered in a legislative action that's more discretionary. This is not a discretionary action. They have to apply the facts to the rules, and to their point, if it fits within those rules, they either have to approve or they could face litigation. And I would note that the governor in the state of California has made housing a matter of statewide concern and of utmost importance. And so in evaluating housing, the state takes it very serious. And when cities have been found to have exceeded their authority in denying projects, the state has stepped in and sued, and sometimes will also say that their housing element may not be enforceable. So the state has strong tools at its disposal when the Planning Commission does not follow the rules before it. So unfortunately, when I hear the public say things like there's too many apartment complexes, that is not something the Planning Commission that's within their jurisdiction to consider when looking at this project. With respect to the running of the meeting, I would like to reiterate that the public did have a right to public comment period. The chair does have the authority, if members of the public are disrupting the meeting to a point that the chair does not feel that the meeting can run properly, the chair can ask people to be removed from the meeting. So I would like to respectfully request, again, everyone, please respect the commissioners while they deliberate, as they did listen to you, and it is now their time to deliberate and consider the project.
Thank you.
I'll jump in. Thank you for shedding some light on that. Again, we are bound by a set of rules when we vote. Now, I will provide this for you guys. Whether we all voted no or yes, this project has got to go to the city council. Now, the city council are elected officials. You guys want to do this for them? They're the ones that are elected officials. So that's where you could really voice your opinion on this project. Like our fellow commissioners, I feel bad for people that bought the homes across and feel that these apartments are going to bring their value down, or were not told by the salesperson that these could be apartments and are zoned for apartments. That is unfortunate. I will tell you though, these new style apartments that are coming into the city are not your run-of-the-mill apartments like you've seen in the past. Very high-end apartments. They are not easy. Your credit has to be in top shape. Sometimes even more difficult than to get a home because of these reasons. So some people made some comments about crime infested and drug trafficking. I hardly doubt that with these new style apartments. These new developers are in the business of making money, and they're very thorough on what kind of tenants they get. Again, we're bound by a set of rules and laws, and that's all we can say on that.
Thank you.
About this project, it does have an HOA, which a lot of apartment complexes do not. It's a gated community. They got 828 total parking spaces. I don't know if that includes the garages below or not, or if that's total everything. But it's a typical apartment complex, but it's high end, and I live down in that area. I have no problem with it. The only thing I could see maybe is and I don't know whether we can do this or not. I know it takes money, but maybe put a light in eventually there at coming off on the Iris, because that could be a real problem. I don't know if can we talk about that, or too late, I guess, but I don't know what traffic thought about that, but there's going to be a lot of cars coming on Iris right there by Home Depot. So maybe if we could consider a light there at Iris and Emma Line, it may help a little bit, I would think. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay. If we don't have any further deliberations, we have a motion and a second.
Chair, this is City Attorney's Office. Real quick, if I could just make one point of clarification. On this project, while the Planning Commission does act as in an advisory capacity to the City Council on occasion, for this specific project and a group of entitlements, the Planning Commission is the deciding body unless it's appealed to the Council. So for this one, if the Planning Commission approves, it does not proceed to City Council.
Thank you.
So I just want to clarify.
I still, the property fits what the current zoning is. So, but I still think we should condition it on the boundaries where there's light glare. I mean, besides the traffic and just being irritated by, there's more housing now here, but it would seem aesthetically to not be light coming through the windows of people's houses or having people stand out on their balconies looking down into people's yards. I truly believe that the sensitivity of that can be mitigated. And I would like to have conditions added to, if this project is to go forward, that the boundary condition where there's interface with existing residents, whether it be on Iris or Santiago, have some kind of enhanced trees or whatnot put in there, or masonry wall or whatnot that would stop light from headlights going into
Commissioner Baker. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I mean, everybody's kind of already said, but I did look at the traffic and what we heard from the traffic engineer. The level of service at the intersections or in the area, from what I heard said, is it's not, the level of service will not be less than what it is now. I don't know what the exact configuration is. That's a question. But I don't believe there is a traffic signal going to be put at Emma Lane. I think it's going to be a hard median where it's right in, right out. So I don't know what complications that creates, but it does seem from a safety standpoint or from a boundary condition that apartments coming out of Emma Lane, if that is the main way to come out to Iris, it seems like that interface there, at least they have to go one way or the other. They're going to go to the right.
Chair, can staff make a couple points of clarification to Commissioner Sims' questions as well as
Certainly.
Commissioner Baker's?
I was going to
I shouldn't say questions, but comments as well as Commissioner Baker's. First off, it is a median currently proposed through the intersection of, or along Iris Way through the intersection of Emma and Iris. At an ultimate design, there is a potential that would become a traffic signal at ultimate build out of the city. So that is a potential in the future that that median may come out, and it would be a traffic signal once warranted at that point.
So I think that's the backwards way of saying it's not warranted based
It
on
is
the
not
traffic.
it is not warranted today, but in the future, there at city build out, there could be a warrant for it.
And in regards to enhanced boundary treatment, is there a potential to discuss perhaps
That-
having
That is at the discretion of the commission. I would, if there are modifications to the conditions of approval, staff would look for direction on that, and we can share language with you if that's something you are interested in. We would, ultimately it is a modification to, conditions that were drafted. So the applicant may want to weigh in on that as well if they have any specific concerns.
Well, I didn't print out the conditions, so I can't, I don't know which condition is which. That would be
Okay,
applicable.
so our understanding at this point, from what I have heard this evening, is that there is likely a desire for enhanced landscaping both along Santiago and Iris, something similar to what we recommended on project number 1 this evening, which would be 36-inch box trees along both of those streets within the interior of the site, because within right-of-way, it is already 36-inch box trees. And then the second thing that I have heard this evening is that where the project, where driveways or drive aisles abut city right-of-way, there is a desire for there to be a 6-foot masonry wall in lieu of open wrought iron in those locations.
Good interpretation. I don't have an issue along MLA where it looks at the school field. But I would urge if my fellow planning commissioners to consider that we ask that enhanced condition for the boundary treatment to be added to this as a hard condition as a condition for the approval.
Right. I would like to see some language with that for the additional privacy, especially along it was Santiago.
As well as Iris.
I second
So
that.
so understanding the commission's direction on this, this would ultimately be 2 new conditions placed on this project. One specifically for the walls, the other specifically for the tree sizes along Iris and along Santiago.
The 36-inch box tree lighting for the lighting for the traffic.
I'm not 100% on board with.
No, not necessarily a wall, but definitely the landscaping.
Well, the 36-inch landscaping, that's a municipal code requirement. That's already in place. That's a requirement of this project because of the fact that it has parking lots. When parking lots are adjacent to public right-of-way, either a 36-inch wall or landscaping, solid landscaping, needs to be maintained for those purposes to prevent headlights from projecting onto city right-of-way. It's actually a city right-of-way issue. It's not intended. It has the benefit of not impacting residents as well.
I'm thinking something similar to the language that we did in the last project where the mature trees could privacy for the 3-story buildings looking into the.
So staff would recommend a new condition of approval whereby the commission would require the applicant to install 36-inch box trees along Iris Avenue and Santiago Lane.
If for clarification to my fellow planning commissioners, I am not looking to have a billboard to tag on or anything. What I would be specifically requesting is masonry. Just they could attractively put just the width of the drive aisles along here or wherever they are up here, and the rest be masonry or pilasters and wrought iron. Just so when people come in at night, they come rolling in at 2:30 and then whoop, they're not shining their headlights into the people's houses across the street.
So would you want to see 6 foot, or are you talking normally when we do that, we would do 3 foot solid and the rest of it, the tubular steel? Or are you suggesting 6 foot in that particular area?
Whatever is appropriate.
Okay.
I'm not a landscape architect, but I've never bought a house where the lights go into my front window. It would irritate me immensely.
Sure, we can
However-
write it that way.
So that's two additional conditions of approval.
Yes, sir.
Landscaping and the walling, right?
Yeah.
For the entrancing and exit along the Santiago and Iris.
Just like across here.
That
And if it's
Okay.
up here.
Okay, right. So
Where-
yes, the
yeah.
two additional conditions of approval.
So staff does have those noted. I would ask if the applicant does concur with those. The commission doesn't have to get the applicant's concurrence ultimately, but it may be something that, the commission would want to do.
I also have another question. 36-inch box tree.
Mhm.
I mean, what is that in reference to maturity level? Because there's bigger trees than that.
There are larger trees than that, yes. The larger the one thing I would caution the commission on, as you go to a larger box size tree, the success rate of that tree actually establishing goes down. And with a 20 and honestly, if you do a 24-inch box tree and a 48-inch box tree, for example, after 3 years, they'll be the same size. So 36 is kind of that happy median that we find, where we get a nice tree right out the gate that ultimately is able to establish itself and grow quickly.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you for that information.
All right. With that being said, I don't think we have particular wording for the additional. It would just be the
Staff understands the direction and ultimate of the commission, and ultimately we will word it in an appropriate manner to reflect the direction given this evening.
All right, so the motion would have to be made with the two additional conditions of approval.
Concerning
As discussed.
concerning tree box sizes, as well as headlight screening, We can leave it at that. The staff understands what the direction of the commission is this evening.
We'd have to go, open up, let me see, where we'd have to go back to. Because we're in deliberations, not in the question answer phase. So we can assign that condition of approval flat out. Right. So do we have a motion and a second? Well, let's see here. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to approve tentative track map. That one?
56, 57.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2022-56. 2022-57. And the two conditions of approval.
Second.
The motion carries. Do we have a staff wrap up?
The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If an appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director, stating the specific reasons for the appeal along with the appeal filing fee. If any appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council. Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is item number 4. The applicant is requesting the commission to determine the proposed street vacation of a portion of Gato de Sol Avenue and is conformed with the MoVal 2040 general plan. Do we have a staff report?
Thank you, Chairman. The presentation this evening will be made by Land Development Principal Engineer Clement Jimenez.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Before you tonight is a street vacation for a portion of Gato del Sol Avenue located in the southeast part of the city, south of Alexander Boulevard, near Virginia Street. The portion of Gato del Sol Avenue to be vacated is located 1,600 feet west of Virginia Street, as well as 1,300 feet east of Virginia Street, as shown on the slide. So it's the blue area that's shown on the slide. The applicant, San Diego Gas and Electric, submitted a request for the street vacation primarily over security concerns with respect to their gas compressor station located along this portion of Gato del Sol Avenue. Gato del Sol Avenue has not been constructed and therefore is not a city-maintained street. Gato del Sol Avenue is not a required general plan street. The proposed street vacation consistency finding is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. Notices of the street vacation were sent to all potentially affected utility purveyors, as well as to property owners within 600 feet. An easement will be reserved for the benefit of Eastern Municipal Water District, the only utility that has an existing facility within the street. No existing surrounding parcels will be landlocked. Pursuant to the provisions of Division 9, Part 3, Chapter 2 of the Streets and Highways Code of the State of California and Government Code Section 65402, a finding from the Planning Commission that the vacation of a portion of Gato del Sol Avenue is in conformance with the current general plan is required prior to formal review and action by the City Council. City staff has reviewed the applicant's request to vacate the portion of Gato del Sol Avenue and has determined that it is consistent with the city's zoning ordinance and general plan. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2022-58. This concludes my presentation. Staff and the applicant are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions of staff? Pretty straightforward. Is the applicant available? Okay, would the applicant like to speak? Okay, well, let me ask this. Are there any commissioner questions of the applicant? No? All right, that one kind of went right by there. All right, at this time, we'll open the public testimony. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak has a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on the agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
No, we do not, Chair.
All right. And so no applicant doesn't want to give us any additional information. I'd like to close the public testimony portion and move into deliberations.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah, I said it's pretty cut, not cut and dry, but I mean, I don't see any problem with it.
It's a road to middle of nowhere.
For now. So, 20 years from now, this might come back around.
Probably not in that configuration. Yeah. I'll make a motion that we adopt, Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2022-58.
Second that.
The motion carries. Then we have a staff wrap up.
The recommendations of the Planning Commission on this item will be carried forward to the City Council for their consideration and final action. Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is other commissioner business, and we have no items at this time. Therefore, the next item on the agenda is staff comments. Do we have any staff comments?
Yes, I do tonight, actually. Chair Dejanay actually reminded me earlier in the week that we have the Planning Commissioners Academy coming up in March of 2023. It is from March 29th to March 31st. It is in Garden Grove. And I know that a number of the commissioners on the dais have gone. And I know that there are some commissioners on the dais already who want to go. And ultimately this evening, I'm just announcing that we will be, that I would like to speak with each of you after the meeting. When you have availability, you can either, you can look at your calendars, give me a call later and, give me a call next week. Or if you already know tonight that you're ready to go, then I will be working with Rachel and we're going to get you signed up to go this year. I've got two hands raised already, so I already know three.
I expire, so I'm out. Yeah.
Right. We will
So-
talk later, Sean.
I've had enough.
So that, again, it'll be in Garden Grove, March 29th through March 31st. Again, please give, if you are interested, I see three already. So really I have two other commissioners who just need to know if you want to attend as well. And then we will also likely be sending at least one staff member as well to accompany you. I did not say that. Colin, do you have anything?
All right, the next
that
item-
concludes our
oh,
comments.
Okay. If there aren't any other staff comments, the next item on the agenda is planning commissioner comments. Do we have any planning commissioner comments?
Well, just in case if the December 22nd meeting is canceled, I wish you all a happy holiday and probably see you next year. If it gets it, if it doesn't.
My
Otherwise, I'll see you on the 22nd, right before Christmas.
Right.
It'll be a
before
gift.
Christmas. My understanding, it is not canceled, and I believe we are moving forward on that.
Full
right?
agenda.
This is slave work.
Full agenda.
We'll bring you some mistletoe. No other commissioner comments? Well, I have a commissioner comment. Thank you all. For those of you that have been around, you guys are kind of new. Mr. Baker, we've been around. Every now and then they can get tough. We like I said, we consider and we definitely hear the public comments. I would say for commissioners, please remember that our meetings are transparent, and we want to try to stick to the agenda. If there's something that is occurring that we do have to go back to a portion of the agenda to where we want to reopen and ask questions, please let me know, and then we'll have to go back and open that. Also try to keep our comments open into the mic, and when we're deliberating, that we don't have sidebars and stuff like that, so the public understands that we're being completely transparent and that we are having the meeting with them as well. Other than that, if there aren't any other planning commissioner comments, I adjourn this meeting at 8:44 p.m. to our next regular planning commission meeting on December 22nd at 6 p.m.